Nick here with an interesting subject that I don't think I've made an entire video about before. I've definitely mentioned it, but I probably haven't given a smooth rundown of it, so here it is. I don't understand why the terms Western and Eastern have entered modern terminology, or why people tend to use them extremely casually. People say, oh, this is Western art. Okay, I'm in the West. Oh, in the East, so-and-so happens. Being someone who discusses media and culture a lot, I tend to hear the terms Western culture and Eastern culture quite a bit. And it always gets under my skin for whatever reason. I'm not sure why, but I have no idea why these terms are used in a modern capacity. It's not just that there's something extremely pretentious about calling something Western or Eastern, although there certainly is. There's more to it than that. The terms Western and Eastern were originally coined during the Roman Empire, where basically the Roman Empire was Western and everything to the east of it, like the Middle East and China and the Orient and all that, was Eastern. And it made sense back then because the known world, to Europeans at least, was extremely small. Nowadays we have over 100 countries and the world's fucking huge, and there are so many places and cities and different types of people that I feel to split the entire world up into just Western and Eastern is a gross overgeneralization. Add to that I live in Denver, which most people would actually consider somewhat of a Western city. Whenever someone says something is Western, I'm like, you mean there's cowboys in it and shit? Because that's the only case where I think using the term Western is applicable. Something's in the American West, not if it's just like Canada or some shit. I find that most often the terms Western or Eastern are used primarily by anime fans or weebs who want to generalize manhwa and manga into the same classification, so they're like, oh, this is Eastern stuff, and then our stuff is Western stuff, and Canadian stuff is also Western stuff, and British stuff is also Western stuff. This is a really shitty way to analyze or talk about media. I have a theory that the term Western was popularized by British people so that they could pretend like we and them have anything in common in terms of governance or the way in which we run our countries, but we really don't. Like, they're a monarchy and we're a democracy, and monarchies are bad for people's standard of living. Same goes for Japan and China. I mean, to clump Japan and China together, with one being a democracy and one being a monarchy, is fucking stupid. Maybe the reason I don't like it is because I know that it's a British thing, and that British people are trying to be like, oh, you Americans are just like us. Yeah, all the white countries are the same. Because that's really what it is when you get right down to it. The only countries that people refer to as Western are the white ones. Like, even Australia is referred to as Western, which is fucking stupid considering that it's in the South Pacific. Like, this isn't even a geographical term, it's just which countries are Commonwealth countries, or which countries are white. Which, again, to put America in the same category as Commonwealth countries is fucking stupid because they're monarchies and we're not. Oddly enough, I never tend to hear France mentioned as a Western country. Could it be that Britain only considers them and anything west of them to be Western? They want us to forget that there are functional democracies in the world? It's actually extremely racist to use the terms Eastern and Western. Like, for instance, I really doubt a South Korean would want to be considered the same as a North Korean, but when you refer to both of them as Eastern, you're making a gross generalization about them. Another thing I find interesting is that the terms Eastern and Western are often used by people who don't like the concept of countries for whatever reason. Now, I've said it before and I'll say it again, I'm not a globalist, and I don't mean globalist in the conspiratorial sense, I mean globalist in the ideological sense. There are people who legitimately believe that the world could operate completely without borders as one big giant country, and I just think that's impractical. I don't think the world could operate billions and billions of people as one giant country. Maybe it could. There's really nothing to say that it can't, and I'm perfectly willing to keep an open mind that some kind of system could be devised in the future by which the entire world could operate as just one big world, and you could just be a global citizen. but that's not now. I do find the whole concept sort of impractical and overly optimistic. Besides that, the reason that I do consider myself a nationalist is the same reason I consider myself a linguist. Much like languages, countries are fucking interesting and cool because they're something that people create based on their culture. I think culture is cool, so I think having countries are cool. I don't think xenophobia or racism is cool, but I think having a country and founding a country based on your shared culture with other people is pretty cool. It's pretty cool that groups of people can come together at a place and say, hey, this is our place. Pretty cool, huh? I wouldn't like it if it's all just one big world and all those cultures are just erased and it doesn't exist anymore. Like, that would suck. There's no more France, no more Mexico, no more cool places like that. I do like the concept of countries. And I'm willing to admit that as far as countries go, America's a pretty fucking mediocre one. But I'm not for a minute going to call myself a Westerner, because I'm not really embarrassed to be an American. I don't hate myself for it. I was just born here. I can't help that, but I'm willing to make the best with what I've got. Yeah, I would refer to myself as an American. Culturally, I'm an American. I speak American English. I'm an American second and a Coloradan first, but I would definitely urge Canadians and Mexicans and Japanese and Chinese people to just refer to themselves as wherever you're from, whatever country you're from, not as Eastern and Western, because there aren't two countries in the world. There's like over 100, and they're all pretty cool. Well, most of them anyway. Obviously not the monarchies or brutal dictatorships. Those suck ass. You might think that you're being less racist by referring to people as Eastern or Western, but it's actually more racist. Let me break the entire model down for you in under 5 seconds, okay? All those of you Eastern, Western people in the crowd. If Japan is Eastern and America is Western, then what the fuck is Brazil? Where's Brazil, right? Brazil doesn't have what could commonly be termed an Eastern culture or a Western culture. It's a different place with a different thing going on. It's not Asia, but it's also not a white country. Where the heck does it fit in? Well, see, as it turns out, the Eastern and Western crowd have an answer for this, too, because they tend to split the world up into the global North and the global South, where all the rich white countries up top are the global North, and all the poorer countries on the bottom are the global South. Doesn't this strike you as just a little racist? And wrong too, considering that Australia is in the southern hemisphere, so just like Eastern and Western, it doesn't even make any fucking sense geographically. Like, answer me this, right? If it's racist to call all of Africa just one country, why isn't it racist to call Africa the global South? If you're not willing to acknowledge the differences between, say, like Ethiopians and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, both of which are very, very different countries with very, very different people and different heritages and different cultures, then why do we just call it the global South? That's kind of racist, seems like. I don't know. Ultimately, I think splitting the entire world up into just two hemispheres is a fool's errand that erases the actual culture and differences and diversity of people. We should absolutely, absolutely fucking 100% acknowledge the differences and meaningful ways in which people express themselves and make countries for themselves. That's cool. That's actually what diversity is. So the next time you're talking about a piece of media, please, I implore you, don't refer to it as Eastern or Western, global Northern, or global fucking Southern. Just call it what country it's from. Is it Portuguese? Is it Venezuelan? Is it Argentinian? What the heck is it? Where's it from? That gives necessary context to how it is. An American piece of media is going to be very different from a Canadian piece of media, which likewise is going to be very different from a British piece of media. Same goes for Mexico, France, Korea, Japan, any country you can think of. They all have different ways of expressing themselves culturally. This is the last time I'm going to acknowledge this bullshit here. This is kind of the definitive video on it, but I felt it was worth saying. The terms Eastern and Western are fucking stupid, and holy shit, I'm sick of hearing them. They've gotten so boring. What does this even mean? It's not the Roman Empire anymore. For fuck's sake. It's the 21st century. Or it's like we're culturally regressing. Anyway, yeah, that's today's video. Keep your head up.